Hey.
And welcome to Camera Ready Convos. You know me, I am Sakeitha. I'm the host, and I'm also a beauty professional and hairstylist by trade. My goal with this program is to use my gifts to provide resources and build a platform for fellow beauty creatives to succeed within our industry. The purpose of these conversations right now is to help other creatives kind of acclimate back into working and getting back into society post pandemic. We all were affected by um, the coronavirus last year. Some of us were working and got the call. Other of us were waiting on projects to start or had just transitioned into the industry. So my goal is to help build and boost the morale. And I am thankful that you decided to join me today.
Well, thanks
And
for having me.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do.
Now. Okay.
That sounds super formal, right? Still working it out.
No. This is my first time. Well, it's not my first time doing something like this, but I just want to thank you for having me on to share this experience with you. Super dope. As far as introducing myself, my name is Jurian Isabel. I am an independent filmmaker. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, but by way of everywhere. So I do a lot of work, travel, shoot stuff, shoot like a lot of films, other cities. I frequent Atlanta a lot. Um, so yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me.
So we actually were able to connect on your project,
Hmm.
what, 2 years ago?
Yep.
Yep.
Came.
No,
Yep.
wait, you're in 2021. So it was three,
3 Was it 3 years ago?
3 years.
Oh
Yes.
my god. Yeah, because we lost a year last year
Yeah,
because of COVID.
just
It's
last
kind of weird.
year.
2020
So,
don't count. So yeah, it was three
yeah.
years ago.
So you independently made that film with your brothers,
Hmm.
and you guys then went on to start an academy. And
Hmm.
so you want to talk a little bit about that and how that has been going?
Yeah, so we always have been like very much involved with the community. Even ever since I can remember, my mom and dad both were like very big on like community and education and just making sure that in the midst of everyone like doing following their dreams and chasing their aspirations that we didn't forget where we came from, one, but two, those who might not have the opportunity that we have, or just the exposure that comes with life and blessings, and being able to do certain things.
Mhm.
So that was always something that was very important with us, was community. We used to just have like events. One of the first big ones we had was, it was a lot of shootings. I'm from Huntsville, so it was a lot of, at the time, a lot of violence and shootings happening in the city, which comes with a lot of cities as they grow and become bigger and things like that.
Mhm.
And I was just kind of like frustrated that the community leaders really weren't doing anything about it besides complaining on Facebook. So I was like, why don't we just get together? At the time, I was heavily involved with the music scene here, which I still am to a certain extent, but I'm more focused on the movies now. But I knew like a lot of artists, a lot of people who were doing fashion, and we just kind of got together and started doing things on our own since nobody else was doing them at the time.
Mhm.
And it was like hugely successful. Like a lot of people in the community came together, and we didn't have like no big sponsor like Coca-Cola, or like no
Right.
big Boeing or tech company behind us. It was really just like people in the community getting together and saying, hey, like we want to start putting some positivity out there to kind of combat some of this negative stuff that's happening in the community. And it was really, really successful, and kind of jump started, kind of like, I guess, like a lot of stuff that was happening in the city. Like churches started doing stuff, and people in the city started trying to do stuff. But it was always like, we always started from scratch, not having a home base. It's like every time you get an idea for something, it's almost kind of like you starting from zero.
Mhm.
So I decided to come up with this academy because I've always wanted to create like a safe space for young people to come and create and learn to. When I was like coming up in Huntsville, you know, it really still isn't, aside from what we do, any place to really go to learn about film or be around other young people who were into like doing film and trying to create stuff. So I knew how much I missed that growing up, and I really want to create that for our youth. It's like, you know, you probably got that too growing up. Like, you kind of grow up, and unless you like connected with somebody in the business or somebody older, a lot of times you feel like you're the only person in, you know, especially in your city, this, you know, wants to do creative stuff or whatever, unless you like run into somebody at school or something like that. So with this academy, we get to bring all the creative kids in the city together. And a lot of them going to different high schools, some of them go to different middle schools, but here they're able to kind of connect, and it's a safe space here they can create and kind of learn industry stuff. But also, like, we look after their mental, we have like counseling, we have speakers come in and encourage them. As you know, like, a lot of creative young people are different, me included. So,
yeah.
and it kind of, you tend to have like a harder time getting acclimated with school and norms because you're already kind of born to think outside the box, so to speak.
Right.
So we have speakers come in to really encourage them, and we talk about suicide prevention, we talk about coping skills, we talk about peer pressure, societal pressures to try to fit into this box that you know you don't fit into. So we're just really just trying to make sure that they're okay at that young age, because there's so much more pressure for young kids coming up now as to what we, you know, what we were exposed to, like that times 100 now with social media and stuff. So that's kind of the long spiel about that. I hope I didn't eat up like half the time.
No, that's all great, because I feel like that idea or that platform is so relevant, especially now, because coming out of what we just went through on a global scale, you already know how to start from scratch. You already have the resources in place for people who might be like, where do I go from here? So having that vision or even that foresight to build something like that for a community that, you know, that doesn't always necessarily have the best of the best, that's amazing. That's awesome. That's planting seeds of hope within your community. So that's the best thing you can do if you do nothing else.
Thank you so much. It's definitely a God thing. I have to make sure I mention that. He really gave, I've always wanted to do that, but like, I really prayed about it to try to, because it was ideas here, but nothing was really gelling. And so he really kind of put it together with this academy idea. I was like, oh my God, like, that makes so much sense. Like, you know, and I just really got to work. But to tell you how God worked, I gotta tell you this story because it's like super crazy. So probably like 2 weeks ago, now God had told me to start this academy, not only for the arts aspect of it, but to act as a conduit to higher education and different opportunities. So I'm just doing this academy and stuff like that. We meet daily or whatever. We have classes and stuff. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, is this really like having an impact, you know what I'm saying, that I'm thinking it's having, or is it just like in my head or whatever? So me and my friend Joe, we're out eating at this restaurant, and out of nowhere, God puts it in my head to talk to one of our students. I'm gonna call her Amy, because I don't want to give her real name out. So he tells me to talk to Amy about higher education. I mean, clearly just pops in my head. Like, I stopped talking. Me and Joe were talking about something. I just completely stopped. So I have to talk to Amy about higher education. He looks at me, he's like, that just came out of nowhere. I'm like, well, where did that come from? And I'm like, I got to do it. So then we started talking about higher education and college, and both of us went, you know, to college. We were talking about internships and how important that was, and placement and networking and stuff, being young. So we get to the school that day, and she's actually trying to leave early. And so I tell my volunteers, like, no, I need to talk to her. So we go in the back, and I ask her, I said, what are you thinking about higher education? And she says, you know, it's kind of crazy you asked me that because I don't think I'm going to go to college. And I said, well, why do you think you don't want to go or whatever? And she was like, well, I don't know. Like, my mom's telling me this, my dad is telling me that. I don't want to get into debt. And, you know, the whole coronavirus thing, like, I'm just not sure about my future. I said, well, listen, Amy, like, what are your grades? Like, what are your grades looking like? And she was like, oh, I got a 3.5. And I'm like, what? And so she was just like going on. And I was like, well, you know, how's your school life and stuff like that? She was like, it was good, you know, before the virus hit, like, I was in all these clubs, and she was like model student, and just seeing like how the virus, I don't know, like, maybe it kind of set them off track, or maybe changed their plans on what they thought they were going to do or whatnot.
Right.
But it's really having a serious effect, I think, even deeper than what we think, on like their mental and morale or whatever. And so I'm talking to her and I'm like, no, like life is still happening. Like, yes, coronavirus happened, but like life is still moving. It might have seemed like it, but things are still moving forward or whatever. And she was like, yeah. And she was talking about, I don't think college is for me. I said, well, listen, college is what you make out of it. Whatever you put into, whatever you get out of it, that's for you. You know, if you go into it and you don't take advantage of what's happening, then yeah, it might not be for you. But if you go in there and you're smart, you know, you're driven, you'll be able to get something out of it or whatever. She was like, oh, I never thought about it that way. So I said, I want you to pick 5 colleges. So she said, I want to go to HBCU. I was like, okay, great. So she goes and she looks up and researches and decides she wants to major in business. And so she finds 2 HBCUs, she applies. And it's just, and the saddest part was when she said, you know, it's so crazy that you asked me this today. She was like, because I was seriously thinking about committing suicide. And that to me just, I don't know, like it just made something click, because I was like, if it's that bad for them, you know what I mean, that you're thinking about taking your life, you're that worried about your future, it's something deeper happening that we're not really aware of as far as the generation coming up, you know. And I think a lot of times as creators, we get so kind of caught up in what we're doing and what we want to do that we're forgetting that the kids coming up are not only looking at us for inspiration and how they need to move, but are really looking for guidance and like real world like advice about how to move, like what's the smartest thing to do, what's not smart, like. And I think without that, they just kind of shut down. Like if we didn't have the program, she probably wouldn't went to college. She might have made some decisions that weren't the best decisions, you know. But it's like, we definitely as creators, we have a responsibility not only to like do what God puts on our hearts and on our minds to do as far as creating, but also being there for these kids. And I want to say kids, really anybody younger than us, and sometimes older than us. Like just being there, you know what I mean?
Second, I'm gonna grab a tissue because that moved me. 1 second.
Oh, I don't want to have you on here crying.
I am not a crier, but I don't know.
Leave it up to me. Leave it up to me to go super deep and just beyond what needs to be shared.
That's real, because I feel like even with starting something like this, I feel like I hope it can help, you know.
It definitely will. It's just, it's the dialogue and it's the connection that we're missing. So the fact that you're doing this and people are going to watch this and young people are probably going to watch this, like, that's really just what's missing. Like, we're so connected technology-wise, but we also so far apart right now. Like, it's like we're all in our own little world, and we try to put these masks and, you know what I'm saying, these costumes on like we got it together, but really like trying to figure it out. And the young and the youth are trying to figure it out. So it's like, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think it's absolutely needed.
Thank you. That is so real. I'm so glad you shared that. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't know if I was gonna be talking too much, but I was like, I gotta share that because the way God works through us as creatives is so important, and we should really embrace it and not kind of shy. A lot of times I think we shy away from it because we're like, oh, I'm not really qualified to be trying to change the world, or I'm not perfect, or I'm out doing X, X, Y, Z. But God really don't care nothing about that. Like, he just needs us to do specific tasks. He know what you're doing. Like, he know we all doing on the side.
He qualifies the call, because we will sit here and have 50 million excuses as why something can't work or we can't do it. And he won't let you, he'll keep bringing you back to the same point.
Every time.
Yeah. So that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I look forward to hearing the rest of Amy's journey. I keep you updated. She's oh my gosh, she's so super talented. Filmmaker, young filmmaker, like kind of looks up to what we're doing in the city. But I'm telling her, like, what God got for you is so much bigger than just what you can ever imagine. If you just kind of stay tapped in and keep him first, like, you gonna like go places that you never, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'm super excited about what God got for her. Wow. Okay, so with the way our conversation just went, it changed a whole like. None of my questions are relevant.
No, no. Let's go back. Let's go back to. I veered off because I'm like really super passionate about the academy.
No, but I'm
but
glad.
the industry,
Glad.
the industry is important too.
Yeah, this is good, but I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, let's refocus. Let's reset. Yeah, I kind of took a detour. Sorry.
No, but I feel like it's so pertinent and relevant. So we're gonna recalibrate a little bit.
Yeah. Let's switch gears.
So what has this transition looked like for you guys? Did you guys shut down at all during the pandemic? Because I know like different sections of the country experienced the pandemic differently. It affected everyone, but there were different changes, different areas. And I think here in Georgia, in Texas, maybe in Alabama, like the general consensus was that we were open and partying, but there were other things happening too, you know?
Yeah.
So you would fall under the umbrella of other things that are happening and positive things, not just the turn up. So what did it look like for you guys? Did you guys shut down completely? Did you have any online resources? Like, how did you guys kind of create flow and consistency?
So when it was so weird, like when everything shut down, because it was almost like everything was happening. It was happening right on schedule, I guess, like in our minds. The film Candy was going to film festivals. This documentary we did on the Buffalo Soldiers was going to film festivals. We had a lot of stuff lined up locally and in different cities and stuff like that. And so when the pandemic hit, it was almost like this can't be happening. Like not right now, like not at this any other moment, but this moment. Like it just seemed like everything was like lining up, and then it just kind of hit. So yeah, everything did shut down. But the crazy part and the interesting part about it was God had kind of put on my mind to do the academy before it hit. So when it hit, I was thinking to myself like, God, why did you give me the idea to do this school? And you know, and now it's like gonna be impossible to do it in my mind. That's what I'm thinking. But it ended up being so crazy. It ended up being that the coronavirus actually is what ended up funding the school through grants and stuff from the state.
Yeah.
So it's like even in the bed, you know, it's good. It's good in everything, depending on how you're looking at it and how you're moving during that situation. Like if you're doing something that's beyond you, or if you're just totally leaning on what you can do as a person, you know. I think if I was just leaning on just me personally, it probably would have been tougher because I'd have been trying to devise ways to make stuff happen on my own. You know, that is tough in the face of what's going on. But if you're kind of working beyond yourself and for some type of greater thing happening, you know, all things work for the good. You know what I'm saying? So in that aspect, it actually ended up helping, you know, make this become a reality. That's in hindsight. Like when it was happening, I wasn't thinking like, well, happening, I was like, I done spent this much money. I got this nonprofit together. I done, you know, all of it going down the drain. But like looking back in hindsight and stuff unfolded, it ended up happening. Like it was probably like the best case scenario. I mean, that's kind of morbid to say, but we wouldn't have been able to do the things we did without the additional support through the CARES Act and different like grants and stuff that came through for nonprofit organizations. I don't know. I'm not speaking really from a business perspective. I'm speaking more so from like the nonprofit sector and the support we get from the state. As far as the films and stuff go, yeah, that did get on pause. And it really kind of freaked me out for a little while because especially being independent, you kind of thrive off of human interaction and networking and being in places with other people who are trying to build. So from that aspect of with the independent film, that was really scary because it was like, but in the same vein, it wasn't as scary because we didn't have the restrictions as a big studio or a big organization would have as far as like how they move and being liable and all that stuff. So we actually end up casting, which you probably saw for our new indie film, God of Dreams, during the latter end of the pandemic. But I was actually using the pandemic to write and come up with scripts, come up with ideas. So it was more like a planning period for me opposed to execution. And then like right when the time was right, you know, the execution and stuff started and everything just kind of lined up. But I would say that it caused us to think in different ways. Whereas before we had like, for Candy, when did you work with us, we had like in-person auditions and we had them in Atlanta. We had several different ones and people came out. But this, we couldn't do that. So it was more virtual, Zoom auditions, self-tapes. But the type of people that we attracted with this project was way broader because we had to kind of think outside of the box. You know what I'm saying? Opposed to if it didn't happen, we might just did some local auditions here or Atlanta or something like that. But with the virtual, we had people sending in stuff from LA, from New York, from Miami, Detroit, like any state really we got submissions from. And we end up going with a lot of people from LA and Atlanta and different places that we normally probably wouldn't have been able to get in contact with because of them working or being involved with other projects. So again, like, I guess it still was good. You know, it was good in the midst of the bad too, you know. So it was kind of like a mixed bag, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And that's the beauty of it is like after like everything blows over and you know there's gonna be damage, but there's also gonna be recovery, and there's always gonna be birth, and there's always opportunity for new things and new life to come forward. So that's where we're trying to focus right now. Like that's where we need to go. Like not to act or sweep it under the rug or act like it didn't happen at all, but to like take it and create like all the broken pieces, put them together and, you know, create something else or
something new. I think something new is important.
Yeah.
New.
Yeah.
Like don't go back.
No.
Don't get caught up in the past. New.
Yeah. Move forward. So your next project is called God of Dreams. Tell us about that and what we can expect. Was you not that question? What's the what?
Let's see. What can because it's hard to describe. Somebody asked me like, "What is it about?" It's hard to describe without giving it away.
Okay, is it a documentary? Because I know you do these.
It's a film. It's a feature length. It's a feature film. It's
genre.
It's got the DNA of our past films, but it's like next level. So it's very like still thought provoking, and it's got like elements of like I don't know. It's hard for you to say. The core of it is about how even though we all look different on the outside, how we are really connected spiritually. And it's about like sacrifice. It's about it deals a lot with ideologies. And that's what I love about the film because it's not really about black, white. It's about issues, but it's more of like the spiritual take on it. It's kind of like I can't give it such away, but yeah, it's really dope. It's really, really, really cool. And speaking of working on projects, what was it like working with us?
I enjoyed working with you guys. I think for me, a good turning point was when we spoke. I think we were at like the house that huge Airbnb, and we spoke and we talked about. Now I don't know which week day, if it was early or late in the project,
right?
But we were talking, and you were just telling me your journey into filmmaking. So that gave me a better idea of who I was working for. And it made me more enthusiastic about the project. The script, you know, you take a job, you get a script, you read it. And as a hairstylist, I go through and I start breaking down and making notes for the characters. And sometimes you like the script, sometimes you're like, oh, okay, this will work, you know. And for me, it was one of my first projects since I had moved to Atlanta. And so, yeah, everything was new anyway. Everything was new anyway. So I was just, at that point, I was sponging. I was just taking things in, not really filtering, not trying to be closed-minded about any narrative or experience, just taking it in because this is the experience, this is why I came. So
Right.
I guess this would be like what, the dating phase of my career. So,
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love
it's
it.
like I can't make no judgments. Taking the information, and then I'm gonna assess the experience as I'm getting it. So working with you guys, one, I really like the fact that you guys, you and your brothers worked as a team. You guys communicated well. I remember at the end, I don't remember which. I think it was, I don't remember which one of your brothers I was working with because we had to get the call sheets right. And it was several people on our team who needed a call sheet so we could submit. And he was like, can I just put, y'all had 13 days hair and makeup? Like, can I just write it? And I'm like, nah.
That's probably was David.
It has to be a whole call sheet. This is the format. So I sent him a sample and he was like, all right. And so we worked back and forth. So we had like a finished product and I could send it to all the other artists that worked with us on the with me on my team and with you guys on the project. So for me, it was a learning experience as well, because while it seemed like this big giant, it was still like, it's just people. We working with each other. We trying to make something happen. We all out here. We all have dreams, aspirations, and we just put one foot in front of the other, and we get together and we make it happen. So for me, the beauty was in the creative and collaborative process.
Yeah, seeing everybody come together.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing, and I knew like y'all was gonna do something. I didn't know what it was, but y'all were gonna do something because we had a whole premiere. We had like, it was
nice. Yeah, it was
nice. Everything, y'all had multiple state premieres, like, you know, like, and y'all made it happen. Like all of it happened because you did the work. Like no one did it for you. So that's a big piece of this puzzle, is the fact that you're the one who's, no one's gonna get up for you. Nobody's gonna walk for you. Nobody's gonna send an email for you. Like these are all things you have to do. And wherever
real work.
Yeah, you gotta put in the
some
work.
people out here acting like they're working so hard and they really not. It made me so bad. I can't say names. I absolutely can't say the name until they die. But I did this sizzle reel for somebody that ended up getting a reality show. In my mind, I'm thinking like, this is like, not really, I'm first starting off, but I was a little naive because I'm thinking they were probably somebody that they really weren't. So I'm thinking like, oh, we putting in work, we're gonna come up together, we're gonna meet these people and everybody gonna kind of win. They was looking at it strictly like work for hire, Negro, we don't need you no more. So I did this little sizzle reel to end up getting them the show or whatever. And so I didn't hear back from them until the show was getting ready to air. That was like the next time I heard from them or whatever. And she, I'm laughing to keep on crying. She said, she asked me, she said, and then on top of that, wanted me to do the same thing for one of her friends. I'm like, oh my God. And this is why we have to be tough about what we really want to do, because if we don't, people in this industry just take advantage of us. Unbelievable. She was like, would you do this for a friend of mine? And I'm like, I was like, no, I don't think so. And then she was like, well, you know, your time is gonna come. Like, you just have to work really, really hard like we like, you know, our story, we just have to work and work and work. I'm just thinking about myself like, girl, this is like real work. Like, put in the real work. Not exploiting somebody, using somebody, and then want to act like you just get all this time in the gutter. Like, no, that is not no work. Like, it's exploitation, it is work. Them two different things. People in the industry need to understand that. Like, and then talk work harder, not smarter. No, you're not work. That's not work. You know what I'm saying? That's not real work. Like, and people just need to be honest about that, because I'm sure you know some people that it's the same thing.
You different characters. You definitely do.
Oh, it's a circus. It's a circus now. And I just be myself like, okay, girl, all right. Yeah, you work really, really, really hard.
So we getting closer to wrap time. I think this thing is telling me we have about 8 minutes, and they put the timer on there too. So how do you stay motivated and recommitted to this process? And do you have any like mantras, sayings, words of affirmation that you use or are reminded of?
Um, for me, like what kind of keeps me grounded is the spiritual part of it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's definitely God really keeps me grounded in the midst of like all the craziness that happens in this industry and people like maybe not really necessarily valuing you as you value yourself or how you
Mhm.
value others. Um, it's just a really weird kind of doggish industry. And for me, like kind of what keeps me going is like I just have a pure passion for it. I've been doing like films since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So this is more so kind of like a God-given gift thing opposed to something I got into for a come up or fame or whatever the
Right.
different aspirations are. Which not knocking, however you, whatever your get up, that's your get up. But for me, like it was more of like a coming from a pure place. So knowing that and knowing like God gave me this gift to do things not just for myself but for Him, you know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to like stay connected and be mindful of that and try to tap into that and make sure that I'm going the direction He wants me to go and not necessarily
Mhm.
what the world or the industry or a certain person where they want me to go because I
Mhm.
know just like He gave it to me, He can take it away. Just
Mhm.
and stuff
Yeah.
don't have to work. Stuff don't have to work out. You know what I'm saying? Like things don't have to be successful. Like you don't have to finish a movie. You don't have to have premieres. So it's
Mhm.
like knowing the real person behind the success and the real person behind things working out and meeting fabulous creative people like yourself that come in and like really like you said, like help you get it out the mud and create stuff um, without strings attached, like without somebody telling you to do this or do it like this or we want to see more of this. Like it's really hard to get a pure thought across in this industry without somebody having strings on you, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
So the fact that we're able to create these stories and create academies and do things on a positive tip, I know for sure that's Him orchestrating us meeting these certain people at a certain period of time that's needed to create something that's bigger than everybody, and really just stands as a testament in itself. Like you got this done, and like you said, it wasn't because of a bag of money. It wasn't
Mhm.
because your uncle was, such and such, and they did it as a favor, or somebody pulled strings. Like it's really like almost like magic. It's really like just the hand of God touching the people and touching a project and getting it across the finish line. So for me, like that's what kind of keeps me grounded is the spiritual part of it, and just praying before I make a move, praying before I do a project to make sure that it's in line with what He wants me to do and not, something else or whatever.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does. It does. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we are down within our last 5 minutes. Do you have any contact info or things you want to share? Ways people can support?
um, Follow us. I really want everybody to follow the Academy page as well. Like I'm super, super excited about the Academy. It's kind of hard juggling both, I ain't gonna lie. But on Instagram, follow Isabel Academy. Y'all can keep up with the kids and the kids that are coming up that are doing fantastic things in film and dance. Really super excited about them. You can follow us on Instagram, Isabel Boys, at Isabel Boys. You can follow us there. Um, Make sure y'all check out our movies. Our first movie, The Last Disciples, is on YouTube. Just search The Last Disciples. It'll pop up. Leave a comment, subscribe. Our film Candy is on Urban Flix TV. Y'all can check that out there. And our new film, be on the lookout for that's called God of Dreams. So you should be hearing more of that soon, prayerfully. We wrapped up. We get ready to go into post production for that. So prayerfully, y'all
Okay.
will see that soon. But other than that, that's really all I have.
All right. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's
Okay. In my mind, it's not. So okay, great.
because we always think that we gotta give
We're
more.
not doing that. Right.
You can't
We
do
got to
like
do it
4
more.
movies,
Yeah.
three
Yeah, that's
movies,
a creative
two
mind
production
for sure.
like academy, like yeah. All
Like,
right.
that's enough, big girl. Yeah.
So thank you so much for dedicating this time. This early, beautiful Saturday morning in spring. Looking
Thank you for
outside.
having me. You look fantastic, by the way. You look great.
Thank you. I am like, thank you, because I am 2 seconds away from like downing a bottle of Claritin. Like my allergies were going all morning,
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah.
oh my goodness, I gotta
I
get
have bad
this.
allergies.
I
Yeah.
gotta get on this, and I need. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here with flowers, and they probably just like.
Yeah, because you got me, because I'm like, she looks like sunshine. So you're doing a great job.
It's the island girl flavor. We bring the sun. We bring the sun. We bring the.
You are doing it today. You are killing it. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you so much. You are as well. And it was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Your personality is always A1. And I'm looking forward to seeing the premiere of God of Dreams. And hopefully we can do more projects in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Get your camera ready look with Sparkle and Glam Cosmetics.